Do you have a specialized packaging department? And I think it's very important to ask this question. Many packaging resellers are struggling. Many of them have the lowest profit margins they've had for years. My point is specialized packaging and those that sell it actually make 20, 30, 40% profit margin that repeat. And the reason why I wrote this book and share these videos and this content is to let you know that there is a method here that your reps can actually sell more, sell and eliminate their competition. Meaning if you're already selling a company miscellaneous commodity items, why not sell them their specialty items that your reps are walking right on by? That to me is the golden goose. And I can show you, and I can definitely teach your reps how to do this. I hope this helps. Thanks.
All right, David. So last week we had a great conversation. We went off of multiple tangents, just talking about packaging in general and why it's so important to you. So with your passion, you actually created 2 books that I want to talk to you about today. And the first book that you've developed was Can I Speak to Your Specialized Packaging Department? So let's just dive into it. Why is it important for a company to have specialized packaging departments?
Because I've been in the business space for so long, and in the packaging world for so long, the ability to be able to look at the industry and try to find not trends necessarily, Kiana, but basically look at opportunities is probably a better way to put it. And specialized packaging is, I don't know if you recall from the last time we chatted, but when I got into this space, specialized packaging and packaging in general was all kind of clumped together. There was, guys like me would sell you a specialized package and then go to the next place and it was more commodity, and go to the next place, it was more. And nowadays they've really streamlined that, or companies have kind of, for a number of reasons, but you've got the haves and the have-nots when it comes to specialized packaging. For example, you've got the companies, the U-Lines and the Grangers and the Veritiv and some of these other that specialize in just commodity packaging, doing orders and doing deals and selling volume. What also happened at the same time is the specialized companies that dealt with, real high-end food packaging or high temperature packaging or hot fill, anything having to do with a pasteurization, all these other kind of things, not to go too far in the weeds. What I'm getting at is what happened was those companies had sales reps that kind of covered the U.S. When business was great, this is pre-COVID, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever it is, they had, at least a rep a state. So, every state had at least 1 or 2 reps or whatever it is, and they basically got rid of them. And then they went to okay, we've got 1 rep that handles east of the Mississippi. We have another rep that handles west of the Mississippi. And then we have 1 rep that handles Alaska and Hawaii or whatever. And what happened with that was it created a huge void because those guys could only handle so much. And they were going to go after their biggest customers, the biggest players, their biggest opportunities, and all the other people, which is really our targets, they got lost in the waste, in the wash there. So what I'm getting at is, specialized packaging is needed now more than ever. And I'm noticing this trend over the last 5, 6, 10 years where no one really sells it. No one really markets it. You have to, if you need it, you have to either find it yourself, say hypothetically, I'm a manufacturer of orange juice and I need to find aseptic packaging, which is a type of specialized packaging. I would have to know the lingo. I'd have to know the terminology. I'd have to know where to find that stuff and who's, and that just doesn't happen that much anymore. So what's happened here in those instances is those companies are really stuck. Those companies, I just actually was with a company a couple weeks ago in Florida, really ironically talking about aseptic packaging. And the reason why it's such a glaring opportunity is there's only a couple of companies in the U.S. that make aseptic packaging. The problem is that if they have a problem, or say they get off schedule, or say COVID hits and say they don't have workers and say they have trouble getting the resin or the material. And suddenly, Kiana, you go or they go from a month lead time to 8 months to 9 months. Now, when you're packaging orange juice and you're packaging something specialized, you can't wait 8 months for your stuff. You know what I mean? So that's where I just see this massive opportunity and all these segments of specialized packaging that are just waiting to be discovered. The problem is that the majority of packaging salespeople, packaging resellers, packaging salespeople's brokers, whoever's in the business, they don't understand specialized packaging. They don't understand how to get into it. They don't understand the questions to ask. They don't understand where the opportunities lie. They don't understand who could use those products. And subsequently, they walk past these great opportunities. So I'm like, well, how do I get the word across? And, that's one of the reasons why you and I are talking. I know video is one platform, podcasts and YouTube videos. And of course, there's all the social media stuff. But the real meat and potatoes is we've got to find a way to get to those decision makers at those packaging companies and packaging resellers to really enlighten those sales managers or owners or whoever they are that they got to focus on this stuff. And I'll kind of loop this all together full circle because a lot of those packaging resellers are struggling. The economy, wherever it's going on with the economy in the U.S. right now, it's certainly not booming. I wouldn't call it flat, but it's certainly no one's retiring in this economy. I look at that as a great opportunity for companies that really want to get into a different type of industry or sell products to their existing customers they never thought possible. What I'm getting at with all this stuff is that a lot of the decision makers at packaging resellers they don't understand. They don't understand because a lot of times, and it's really hard, a lot of times sales managers in the packaging space have been promoted and they're not sales managers by trade. For example, sometimes a guy makes a really nice living for a packaging company and then he goes, I'm tired of traveling. I think I'm going to retire. No, Sam, don't retire. We'll make you a sales manager. You can stay here at the office. So, and that happens more often than not, unfortunately, in the packaging space. So we have a lot of inept packaging sales managers, and that also is a problem. And why I share that is not to condemn anybody for doing it, but to just realize that some of these sales managers don't understand the terminology either. That's where the problem compounds. Does that make sense? It's if the sales reps don't understand specialized packaging, you would think that their sales manager certainly would understand specialized packaging, but that's not the case. But they don't. And that's where I'm like, wait a minute, guys, you're missing out on this huge opportunity. So, and I don't quite know. And again, just like anything else, it's sort of like I have this secret, if you will. I want to share it with people. I want them to know what's available. I want them to understand the how big of an opportunity this is. And that's the real tricky part with this, Kiana, is how do we get to those decision makers at packaging resellers to consume this information, to go, I never thought of that. We sell Moen faucets. Wait, we sell them copy paper, but we could be selling them, a high temperature film to protect their brass faucets or brass knobs on their faucets, all these kind of things. But again, without them even being able to recognize, that's just huge, opportunity. So I just, writing a book and doing a podcast and videos and providing content and blog posts and Word documents, that's just, we need to be able to meet these people where they are. We need to be, and some of these guys, I'm not a huge LinkedIn fan. I know we all have to be on LinkedIn. That's part of the world that we're in. But I see a lot of people that are, we call that professional promotion. These guys are just, look at me and we opened a new factory and I just got, and it's like, nobody wants to know that. I would think that a
Yeah.
LinkedIn would be more from a B2B kind of, sharing information, sharing content, but it's not. It's a lot of self-promotion. It's a lot of, we open a new factory and hey, look at us. And that
Yeah.
gets
Or I got hired
I
at
got
this
hired at this
job.
job.
Right.
And basically and it's just like, who cares? Unless, if it was truly what I think LinkedIn was supposed to be at the beginning was a great networking place to find jobs. And it's and that's great if that's what you want to do. But they're billing it as this place, this repository to be able to share, B2B information and industry information. And they do some of it, but it's lost because it's this big,
Hmm.
massive, it's just like the big, massive stew and the stuff gets lost there. So
Hmm.
it's like all this, and
So,
again, but to bring that full circle, it's creating awareness, sharing
mhm.
information to hopefully enlighten these companies that they're walking right past tremendous opportunities. And,
Right.
and again, specialized packaging just happens to be my passion, happens to be what I'm good at, happens to be what
Mhm.
I know about. And the reason being was that I just did a video this morning about it. That's why it's so top of mind. But I learned at a very young age, if I wanted to be in this business, if I wanted to make a decent, good living that was sustainable, right? I couldn't just sell commodity items. And because you could be replaced. You're just like
Totally.
you're just a number. And I learned
Hmm.
early on that I had to get past that. And that was all about specialized packaging. Now, specialized packaging is, and I'll give you some examples, but it's a very, very intricate business, meaning the
Hmm.
products and the packaging that's used for this are really mission critical to the end user, whether that be keeping a product fresher for longer, from as simple as coffee beans and trail mix, all the way down to high-end medical packaging that is
Hmm.
used to keep instruments sterile. So there's all this, all the and why it's so specialized. I mean, not why it's so specialized, but why it's such an important component is if something goes wrong,
Hmm.
you could, people could get sick, or
Yeah,
Fido
totally.
the dog could die, or and so it's not to be trivial here. It's important, and that's where I see so many people, because it's mission critical, they go, "Wow, I don't want to go in there because something gets screwed up, then I'm going to be to blame." And I look at that as just the opposite. I look at as a privilege to be able to do something like that that actually could actually, help sustain. It's not life or death. A lot of
Yeah, it's
times, it's but what
beneficial. Yes,
yeah, I
yes.
want to be a part of, if that brand is a
Hmm.
launch. We did work with a company that's still thriving, and I'll give you an example called Barnana.
Hmm.
Does Barnana hit your,
Hmm.
I don't know if you've followed them. So again, this company,
Barniana.
yeah, so they call it upcycled bananas. Basically, they're chunks
Oh, okay.
of bananas that they packaged. And because initially they put these together, there were a bunch of high end Ironman athletes, and the potassium and all the nutrients that come in the banana in little chunks. And then they started coating them with chocolate or whatever it is. But still, their mission
Mm.
is the upcycled banana. And with
Yeah.
that, all the nutrients that come with it. And why I look at that as it's just an example. They needed to get started. This is a startup, couple of guys that wanted to get going. But what they really needed to was they really needed to get their product on a store shelf, but they needed it to be able to compete with the Gatorades and the Cliff Bars and all the performance stuff that's
Hmm.
out there. And they didn't have the money or the backing or the ability to go and buy hundreds of thousands of anything, right? But they came to
Hmm.
us, and because we can talk the language of specialized packaging, we were able to customize something, number one, but protect the product, because you only get one chance. If you can sell successfully on
To make it
retail,
good.
whether
Right.
that's, yeah, and if it goes bad, you're out of business. I mean, let's face it.
Right.
And now you can see Barnana in airports and Starbucks and everywhere. But
Wow.
starting out, the privilege was to be able to help them develop packaging that was every bit as good as the big boys, but to make sure it worked. And that's where it's a
Mhm.
pride thing versus a life or death kind of situation. But that's just one example of what's out there to be able to, and that's a retail packaging kind of thing. There's lots of examples for non-food or we're Corning glass and
Mhm.
craft made cabinetry. But the point is it's the product, the specialized packaging product. But let me segue into something else, Kiana, which I think is also a
Mhm.
major issue. And I see a lot of sales reps, they don't understand how to even start a conversation. Let's just say hypothetically, Kiana, you're a high-tech company and we just know that you need specialized packaging. We don't know what it is or whatever.
Mhm.
But my question is so many, and this is why I wrote this book, so many sales reps will come in to meet with you and their whole value proposition is going to be on price. And that to me is a fail. It's a major capital F failure because selling on price is just like you might as well sell brown boxes. It's a commodity thing. Now, I'm not saying
Mhm.
pricing to you is not going to be important, Kiana. I'm not saying it, but my first question, and this is where it drives me crazy with sales reps, is their advantage if they truly want to partner with somebody is not price. It's getting to know
Mhm.
you. It's getting to understand, Kiana,
Right.
why are you looking for this packaging? What's happening right
Mhm.
now? I appreciate you letting me in your office and we're talking about your kids and your family and your dog, and that's great. But help me understand why you are looking for this type of packaging. And then
Mhm.
the other thing that I think is glaringly missing as well is the sales reps that will listen. Silence, and I don't know about you, but if you've ever tried this sometime with somebody, when you have a
Okay.
conversation, that 5 seconds of silence in between asking a question and waiting is really hard. You see where I'm going? Is
Yes. No,
there's that
absolutely.
kind of I didn't freeze there. I froze on purpose because so many of us are afraid of that dead air. They're afraid of that space. But that's where the magic
Mhm.
is. That's what I try to teach. If I want to ask you questions about why you're looking for specialized packaging, I have to
Mhm.
let you answer the question. And a lot of these reps don't even give you an opportunity because it's like they just want to keep trying to sell you something. Why are you looking? Well,
Totally.
hey, by the way, we've got this. And you know what? Well, the reason why, oh, did you know we can do that too? And we can have this. And it's like,
It's too
you
much.
told
Yeah.
it's too much. And you don't really understand the foundation of what you're looking for. And so many
Mhm.
times it's just asking questions and listening. And that's fundamentals here.
Mhm.
That's blocking and tackling. This is really simple stuff, but salespeople just they miss out on this, and they're in such a hurry to either try to make a deal, to try to impress you with what they know, to try to get a project, that they miss out on that. So it's one thing I could have, Kiana, I could have a cure for cancer, if you will. But if I don't
Mhm.
talk to you and find out maybe you don't need a cure for cancer, and I'm not making light of anything. What I'm saying is a
Right.
lot of these guys just are trying to ram down what they think you want versus listening to what you want and you need. And that
Mhm.
just drives me. So again, part of the reason why I wrote the book, part of the reason why I like to share about this is that that's a fundamental flaw. That's a real flaw with these guys and gals in this space. And I also look at that as a huge opportunity because if you tell me that your current supplier has dropped the ball, you are out of whatever that packaging is, and you are shut down for the next 2 months, I don't think you really care anymore about other things I could possibly sell you at this point. You want to know how I can solve your problem right now.
Right
You want
now.
to know
Mhm.
what I can provide. And if I don't ask you those questions, and if I don't even find out, Kiana, what does that look like? Does that mean, because some people, let's face it, some people are impractical. You're not going to have
Mhm.
100,000 or a million or 100 of anything, most likely tomorrow. You're just not specialized. It just doesn't
Mhm.
happen. But there are things you can do, and there are factories who can help. But if you don't ask the question and say to you, okay, Kiana, what does that look like to help you? I know the solve is to replace these 100,000 pieces and they're bad. I get it.
Mhm.
But what really helps you right now? What helps move the needle? And you may just need 50 to show, sometimes a lot of people, a lot of companies need samples or test runs to show their distributors or to take to a trade
Mhm.
show or to go and meet and pass off to their biggest customers and show them what's possible. But if a
Mhm.
sales rep doesn't truly understand what's going to help move the needle, they miss out on this. They think that your solve is the 100,000 pieces, and it is, but there's usually something in between them. And usually there's something, do you need all 100,000? So all I'm getting at is this back and forth. And then here's the
Mhm.
final thing that it just drives me crazy. When a sales rep, Kiana, let's just say hypothetically, you are, again, in a high tech position. You had a problem where your clean room packaging used for electronics, your supplier, went belly up, and now you're scrambling. Now, I come in and I talk to you. And I want to ask you, okay, you're out of this 6x9 clean room bag that you package your circuit boards in. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
And you can't ship now to Microsoft. And you're okay. What do you need in order to get you through this? Well, I need a million of these things. Okay, I get that. But what's going to
Mhm.
help you right now? Now, if I'm able to put together something that's going to save the day, got it. But I need to ask you, Kiana, what are you paying for these bags? Oh, I'm paying 15 cents. Okay. All right, great. And what is this costing you, Kiana, to not be able? Now,
Mhm.
that's the key question. What is it costing you, Kiana, to not be able to ship to Microsoft? Now, the bigger picture here is not to sell you at 15 cents. That's let's just say hypothetically, my cost is 10 cents. Okay. So I'm already making money. I get that. But your true pain point isn't necessarily me matching this 15 cents. Your true pain point is I can't make my delivery to Microsoft. That could be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars. So,
Right.
back to my original reason why people need to understand specialized packaging. If they ask the right questions, I'm not going to sell you 14 cents. I'm going to sell you something that I can make money. And Kiana, if I get that to you, because I'm going to have to pay the factory overtime to be able, or I'm going to have to rush them and use some favors to get that there. Can I sell that to you for 20 cents? If I can get that to you for 20 cents and have it for you next week, would you be happy? Of course you would.
Of
Unbelievable.
course, yes. It's an automatic yes.
But so many
Yeah.
reps are like, well, geez, you're paying 15 cents. That means I got to save you money. I'm like, you save you money. So that's this whole big thing of, why I'm so passionate, because I see packaging resellers, I see packaging
Mhm.
companies that are struggling right now. And I see them because I hear from them all the time. And the questions are usually the same. They want somebody to save their hide. They want somebody to kind
Mhm.
of come up with a miracle, but they don't, and they haven't even taken the time to ask questions. And I just
Mhm.
see that as a major fail. I just see that as a
Yep.
major, you have such an opportunity. And then the final part of this too is there's probably always final parts with me, but I love this stuff. But the
No, it's
final
fine.
piece to this is if I want to ultimately become a partner with you, meaning I want
Mhm.
to save the day for you and become a hero, which saves the day for you with your bosses and the boss's bosses. But what I'm getting at is if we have the start of a relationship and I say to you, Kiana, okay, I can sell that to you for 20 cents. I can get it to you. What other things are here that that maybe there's other opportunities? What better time to start building that relationship than right now? And for you to
Absolutely.
when would you ever be more open to having a relationship than when I've just made you look like a hero in front of your boss? And to be
Right.
able to kind of explain and I got to believe there's other opportunities here. And if you're shipping to Microsoft, I bet you're shipping to Intel. I bet you're shipping to Dell. Do you have any?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Dell. That's a whole nother problem. Well, this is this is where I bring this full circle. This is the point that if we don't use this as an opportunity to build a relationship and build a partnership with that customer
Mhm.
and to be able to exploit that in such a way that everybody benefits, that too is a major fail. So there's that three pieces to this whole entire blip is, the specialized packaging is one thing, finding the opportunities, knowing where to go for that. But it's also being able to ask the right questions and get the information that we need. And then it's being able to exploit the opportunity, Kiana, to really maximize the benefits. And this is that kind of really big picture when it comes to specialized packaging that I think has a huge opportunity. And that's I can't say it enough. I just see so many people that maybe they have specialized packaging, but they don't have a conversation with a client. Or maybe they know how to have a
Right.
conversation with a client, but don't know how to price it properly. And they leave
Mhm.
money on the table, as they call it. Or maybe, and it's all
Mhm.
this stuff. This is why I keep kind of promoting the big picture for packaging companies and packaging resellers to partner with somebody that can provide the entire scope of this. Imagine, Kiana, if you're a packaging company and you historically have sold, back to our original example, buckles and tape and brown boxes. Now, you want to look at how do you grow your business and how do you not only grow the business but grow it profitably. It's one thing I see a lot of people that want to sell more, but they're not necessarily selling more to make any more money. They're just selling more, they're doing more deals, right? And what I'm saying to you here is I'm basically saying I think it's absolutely critical to be able to partner with a company that actually can instantly provide you with a specialized packaging department. That's the key thing with this. If I can get you a specialized packaging department and you're able to plug in and connect with somebody like us that instantly is able to put you in touch with the factories that can get you specialized packaging or have the knowledge and information about how to even have a conversation with Kiana about, her clean room
Mhm.
packaging or how to have a conversation. Maybe Kiana isn't the decision maker. How do we talk to Kiana so she tells us that Sam or Sally is really the decision maker? And by the way, she'll introduce us to them if
Mhm.
we don't run over her and say, "Oh, you're not important." All I'm saying is part of what I try to do with this is really emphasize to companies their need to have a specialized packaging department. When they do,
Mhm.
they don't have to go and invest in big money to hire a bunch of new people or buy a bunch of new equipment. Their ability to instantly be connected with vetted factories globally, domestic and overseas, but also the
Mhm.
knowledge of what to ask and who are opportunities and where those opportunities are.
Mhm.
And to me, I just think it's just gold for any company that wants to really, really blow up coming in 2024. And I mean, and that's why I was excited that you wanted to even ask me these questions, because you see how easy I talk about this stuff. It's just blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, no, I
But
mean, I know that this needs to happen. And it just,
right,
I want to also know, like, where have you seen it happen thus far? Like, for example, a company that doesn't have a specialized packaging department.
right.
How did that turn out for you? Like success stories, for example. I know you mentioned other Barnan and stuff like that, but are there any more stories?
There's lots of opportunities, and that's where I'm frustrated that there are companies
Mhm.
out there that I've done this dance with, so to speak. But
Right.
and I can sell and provide examples all day long of the end users like the Barnanas, Heinz Food, Tropicana, Kraft Foods,
Hmm.
HJ Heinz, Hellman's Mayonnaise. I did a lot of work over the years with Moen Faucets and the Hoover Company. What I'm saying with that is not to impress anybody, but to impress upon them that we have no problem selling the end user and the end
Hmm.
user that needs that packaging. But there haven't been a whole lot of takers in that world of resellers that understand the complexity, and they kind of like the light bulb goes off. But to answer your question, I'm working with a company in South Carolina, and this
Hmm.
guy is a career stretch film make. He basically is a rep, right? So he'll go into these big
Okay.
companies, and he'll and again, stretch wrap is, the basic stretch wrap, you can get a roll of stretch wrap and wrap a pallet, but he's talking about truckloads and truckloads of this stuff that wraps hundreds of thousands of pallets a day. Okay, so he's
Hmm.
dealing in very large rolls of stretch film, very tiny margins, but he knows a lot of people. He knows a ton of people because the company he's selling
Hmm.
these things to are Tropicana, some of these orange juice manufacturers. And that's kind of
Right.
how the aseptic packaging example I told you about Tropicana before happened, where he actually said,
Hmm.
well, wait a minute. I sell Tropicana, and what is that stuff called that they use this for? Is it called aseptic packaging? And yes, but could you teach me about aseptic packaging and how do I go about doing that? And so to
Hmm.
answer that and kind of come full circle is that's that's an example where the light bulb went off for me, where I said, you know what? I got to write a book about this. I've got to educate people about this. I've got to share with them the opportunities that are out there. So that's when I really started reaching out to other people saying, you know what, guys, you need a
Hmm.
specialized packaging department. You need to learn what it is and what it takes in order to put together your own department that actually can get there. So to answer your question,
Hmm.
we're at the very beginning stages, but what I saw almost instantly was the need and how quickly we could fill that need with a customer who wanted that product. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's just there are so many
No, you did.
examples,
Yeah.
yeah, of the end users, but it's we're just now scratching the surface, and I'm thinking, why wouldn't we partner with a packaging reseller? Why couldn't we? So I hope that answered your question, even somewhat.
No, it did. And I truly think that it is scratching the surface. Because I mean, like I said in our other conversation, I
Yep.
had no idea that specialized packaging even exists. And as a consumer, you
Right.
don't realize that it actually, for you, it's so easy, but everyone else makes it so complicated. And it's
Big
because we're
time.
not educated about it. It's because we don't know.
Right.
It's because there's that
Right.
disconnect between the sales
Right.
rep and, you know, everything. And
Yep.
what you're trying to do is just bring awareness, all in all, because there's so much opportunity within specialized packaging.
You're exactly right. It's not a hard sell. If we bring
Hmm.
awareness and we allow people to just sort of noodle on that and go, I never
Hmm.
thought of it that way, or I never knew that's what that was
Right.
called, or I never knew where to start that. That's really, in essence, why I just know we're onto something. And the more I can share and the more I can kind of connect with people, the better off we'll be. So,
No, absolutely. And just one question that I thought about too. So when people talk about specialized packaging and say they're looking for a specific type, right? You say aseptic packaging, you talked about the
yeah,
circ
right.
boards or like bags, medical, to medical devices to keep it sterile. How are they given samples when it comes to, packaging their products? Like, are they able to try it out or you have to kind
Oh,
of
yeah,
know
yeah, yeah.
exactly what they're looking for?
No, that's a
It's
really
like a,
good question.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's also an opportunity and good question too, by the way, because all too often, back to my example about these sales reps, and again, I don't mean to keep throwing packaging sales reps under the bus, but I'm not naming names, but
No, no.
they're in such a hurry to take an order that if I came in to sell you, whether it's that clean room opportunity or whatever it is we were talking about, example before, the first
Mhm.
thing you want to do is feel confident that I know what I'm talking about, or somebody that knows what they're
Right.
talking about. But the other thing you really want to feel confident in is, look, let's face it, you've already been burned once by your clean room pouch guy now, right? So you can't ship to Microsoft. You're scrambling. Your boss is yelling at you. You think you're going to lose your job.
Mhm.
And here's this guy off
Mhm.
the street that is saying all the right things. But the one thing you want to be able to do is not create more problems. So that's one of the very unique things about a specialized packaging department is the ability to work with factories that understand they're going to have to make samples, understand they're going to have to do a trial run, they're going to have to test,
Mhm.
they're going to have to make adjustments. A lot of the specialized packaging is run on equipment, meaning that equipment will tell you how fast they can run it or
Right.
how wide of the rolls or the material should be. And
Mhm.
I I don't even want to take an order. Look, everybody loves the big orders and everybody wants to make money. I get it. But
Mhm.
a lot of people that don't, if they skip the test or the samples, then you're really asking for trouble. Then you're really in
Right.
a possible problem of losing not only the business, but frankly, opening yourself up for a real major problem. So yes,
Yeah.
samples, trial runs, test orders, that's absolutely one of the most crucial things to being in the specialized packaging department or specialized packaging world is to be able to do that.
Mhm.
Because I want you comfortable.
Right.
I want you being able to sleep at night knowing, okay, I found the right guy. He's not trying to sell me something. He's not trying to just he wants to walk before we run. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
that to me is just this. Yeah, so it's a great question. I really appreciate that because
Yeah.
that's huge when it comes to specialized packaging.
No, absolutely. And another thing that came up too is that, I mean, yes, there's trial runs and samples, but say a company comes up to you folks or they're similar to another company that you just worked with. Do you think that's easier for, the specialized packaging department or the company itself to be like, oh, this other company has used it. We would just rebrand and put your name and logo on it and
Yeah.
boom, especially if they need
Well,
it within a week or two turnaround.
Well,
Hmm.
it wouldn't be so a little bit of both. So, for example, it wouldn't be a
Yeah.
rebrand where you would just kind of take something that we sell to Moen and flip it to a Kohler. However, you're onto something there in the fact
Mhm.
that what it is telling me is that if Moen Faucets has a problem, or back to your example about your clean room, if you are having
Mhm.
problems with clean room packaging and you can't ship to Microsoft, well, that also tells me that most likely somebody else has problems with their clean room packaging. So I want to find who are Kiana's competitors. I want to know if you've
Mm.
been screwed by this clean room company, clean room pouch company. I bet you there are others. So if I'm selling Moen faucets, I want to see who the competitors are for two reasons. Number one, most likely there's a problem or could be. The other thing that's really, really, really missed is, remember, I'm trying to build a relationship with you. I'm trying to get in the door to have a conversation with you. What better way to have a conversation with you if you're mowing faucets than to tell you I work with Kohler? What better way for me to go in and try to sell the Hoover Company than to say, well, this is what we did with Bissell. Would you like to see what we did with them? I'd love to have an appointment with you. Or wait a minute, you're Intel and we solved this for Tektronix or something like that. It's real. It's true. But I see a lot of reps that just don't do that. And they, again, there's no shortcut to doing this properly. There's no shortcut to, you can't rush this or you're going to get burned. You're going to miss a critical detail. We've all done it. We've all been in it. I'm not critical. I've done it. I've learned this. And if I don't really connect the dots and find out and really understand, then I'm missing out on true opportunities. But another good question, because that in and of itself is a great way to build the business, but it's also a great way to get in the door. Because in this day and age, nowadays, with, everybody's, voicemail or their emails bounce or nobody answers the phone, we've got to find a way, if we do connect with them, it could be on social, it could be in some random, but you got to be able to nail them and understand your opportunity. That's where I think is another huge opportunity for packaging people to be able to really grow and scale their business quickly.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Answered all my questions and then some. It's very interesting. I think your book is very special. It makes me want to read it. I need to have it in my back pocket because although I'm not a sales rep, I think I could do an amazing job at this.
Yes, you could.
If I would actually dive really deep into specialized packaging, I think I'd be like, this is it.
Well, what we want to be able to do in our perfect world is to be that conduit where somebody knows, the book is just a step in the process where I want people to understand that there's knowledge there, and I don't want to sell books. I want people to kind of see the book as wow, why would let's just get the guy who wrote the book. Let's work with the guy that wrote the book so we can grow our business faster versus, do you really want to, would you rather read the book and then go copy everything I did for 35 years? It'll take you 20 years to do that. Or you can just work with a company, and there are companies like us that instantly put you on the map. So writing the book was a reason to be able to hopefully qualify myself and our company that we know what we're doing. And there's a reason to this. And that we want people to look at that as, yes, hey, buy the book. Great. But also use the book as a way for us to pre-qualify that we know what the hell we're doing.